What's happening, people? I hope you're all well. First things first, the opinion I'm about to give is the opinion from a complete stranger online. Please be responsible when competing in the markets. So, I'm here, not feeling great, recovering from a cold, but the show keeps on rolling. So, a couple of weeks ago, last week rather, Fabio Wardley and Frazer Clarke fought to a draw. And I don't really think that the result itself tells the full tale of the fight. Because although the fight was probably a draw is a fair result, I can't argue with it. I think that this fight took more out of one fighter, significantly more than the other fighter. I think if we're looking at odds for a potential rematch, we have to consider Frazer Clarke the favourite. Because I think that Fabio Wardley really struggled just to get a draw. If you look at the two fighters, who was more pleased to get the draw, Fabio Wardley or Frazer Clarke? I would argue that it was Frazer Clarke. And on top of that, if you look at who sustained more damage in the fight, it's night and day. Look at Fabio Wardley's face now. One could argue that just because a fighter sustained more damage doesn't mean they lost the fight. In fact, there have been instances where a fighter can look absolutely beaten up and still win. That does happen. The other fighter can look fresh as a daisy. The other guy's face can be busted up, teeth missing. I think that happened in one of James DeGale's fights where he ended up with a draw, but he was busted up and the other guy wasn't. In fact, wasn't that Badou Jack versus James DeGale where Badou Jack looked fine, James DeGale looked beaten up? That can happen, but it was a draw, I believe. So, Fabio Wardley looked beaten up, but he came out with a draw. But the reason this is significant for a potential rematch is because Fabio Wardley sustained so much damage. If you look at his nose, Fabio Wardley seems to be vulnerable in the nose area. His nose always seems to get busted up. I remember this happening against Nathan Gorman. Now, eventually some permanent damage is going to occur. Perhaps it already has. And if you look at Fabio Wardley's eye, Fabio Wardley picked up far more miles on the clock in this fight than Frazer Clarke. And going into a rematch, I believe that this might be telling. You see, a fighter who's got such little amateur experience, you got to give credit for being able to be as competitive as he has been. However, that also comes with some obvious drawbacks. The fact is, Fabio Wardley is a natural athlete, but he relies on his athleticism. Take away that athleticism and you're looking at a fight with not a lot of tools. I'm not saying he's completely useless because he's not, but take away the athleticism and you take away a lot of what Fabio Wardley does. Whereas Frazer Clarke, he's clearly not as athletically gifted as Fabio Wardley, but he has technical skill. And the technical superiority means that he can exert less effort and get more of a result. And we saw that, especially at the start of the fight. Frazer Clarke was jabbing Fabio Wardley for fun and using that jab to set up the right hand. And he wasn't really exerting himself. Fabio Wardley has to use sudden bursts and he really exerts himself. So I think that Fabio Wardley is going to age a lot quicker than someone like Frazer Clarke. And I believe going into the rematch, although I would not count out a Fabio Wardley win since he seems to have the power to hurt Frazer Clarke. And we saw that because Frazer Clarke landed on the seat of his pants. But I believe that Frazer Clarke could, one, make this fight a lot easier on himself by just... You see, at the start of the fight, he was just winning off his jab, his ABC fundamental boxing. But he got drawn into a dogfight because whenever Fabio Wardley put it on him, he felt he had to put it on Fabio Wardley. Now, if Frazer Clarke sticks to his ABC boxing and works off the jab and keeps his form, possibly loses a bit of weight going into the rematch if they have one, I believe he could win this by a landslide. I'm not saying it'd be easy, but I think he could win it by a landslide. So overall, it's an entertaining fight. But I think it took more out of one fighter, and I believe Frazer Clarke should start as a betting favourite should the rematch be announced. Let me know what you think. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, hit the notification bell so you get a notification when I make a new video. If you appreciate my work and want to leave a donation, there's a link for that in the description. That allows me to spend more time doing this. And with that, enjoy the rest of your day. See you on the next one.